All right, good evening, team. If you're still here, I thank you. I went into more detail about coercive control and how they wanted it to affect my life in the last video. Um, some of the other stuff, like the drugs, planting, trying to get a dirty cop to plant drugs in my car and pull me over and lock me up again to have control over my life and make me feel isolated from everybody, and that I would be so stressed fighting that I wouldn't have the strength to fight these other court cases or show up because I'd be locked up and in jail. Spreading all the lies that I'm a prostitute and that he was my pimp, and when I'm broke, because after he got me fired, they tried to be like, oh, that's how she makes money. I'm her pimp, and I pimp her out when she needs money, and this type of stuff, trying to embarrass me and humiliate me, but also degrade me in the eyes of other people to make them be like, what? Andrea does what? She does what? And it's like, oh, and that's part of what happened at the Phoenix Suns and at State Farm. She's using drugs and she does all these horrible things and she's da 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 da. And then they start getting to know your colleagues and telling these things to your colleagues. And next thing you know, your jealous Jans start spreading rumors around you, circulating the things that they heard until they get you fired from your job so that you don't have the finances to take care of yourself. So that's kind of how 20 years later, in my litigation with the Phoenix Suns and Mercury, I talk about the narcissist and the avoidant who has some narcissistic tendencies, and he's definitely married or has a child with a narcissist or whatever. But these are all things that they do. They deal drugs. They're criminals. They are involved with prostitution rings and trafficking rings. These are things that these people do. And so that is how together these people have tried to destroy my life. They tried to integrate themselves in everything that I do, and thinking that that was really going to have some effect on me. And I'm here to tell you that it does not, and that I still don't mention your names because I still don't care about you and I want nothing to do with you. And you can get in the comments section, but like provide us with some entertaining details if you're going to, tell the people what you guys did. Why is it that you're always so quick to do things to people, but then when people start finding out or talking about it, ooh, that makes you so upset because you're cowards. You're backstabbers because you can't do it from the front. You did all this stuff, the court case, calling coworkers, doing all this stuff behind my back because you're cowards. And despite your best, you don't have control over me, and I still don't care about you. I walked out of your lives 15 and 20 years ago because you weren't up to par. You weren't good enough. You treated me poorly, and I would never stay with people like that. I'm an empath, so I care, and I give people second chances. But outside of that, there's nothing to say. So you don't need to keep calling and texting. There's nothing that you could say or do that would ever make me want you to be back in my life, period, ever again. And to the females that have not even met me, you did all this shit over a man because you're jealous, because they still talk about me 15, 20 years later, huh? That's crazy. And I almost feel bad for you, but I don't, because you're a grown adult who can make your own decisions. But who I do feel bad for, your children. You know, the narcissist had multiple children, multiple. And before anybody tries to get racist, I always like to remind people that he was a white guy and was one of the most trifling people I've ever met in my whole life. And wanted to get in the mix with all these different people to be here 20 years later so he could say that, haha, I destroyed your life. That's loser shit. You're a loser and a coward. And to the avoidant who partnered up with his baby mama, is that actually your baby? I heard it wasn't. I heard it might be your brother's. You should look into that. But to you two, again, what are we doing? But since you make the different profiles, leave a comment in the chat. Let us know how you feel. Bye.